one of the things that helps anyone improve anything is having a goal to work towards and like a fixed schedule. And that would give me the pressure and the fear and force me to take it seriously because I would know that that thing was coming and getting closer and closer. And it's true for IELTS as well.
What is unique about specifically the IELTS as opposed to other exams like TOEFL, like the others?
Um, the PTE and things like
PTE.
that. I think, I mean, they're relatively similar. You know, there's a lot of similarities. For instance, I'm currently creating an essay course, an essay writing course, and I was planning to have a whole section about, what are the types of essay writing you need to do for TOEFL and for PTE and for IELTS. And when I was looking at the different essays and the different instructions, I realized that really that they're quite similar. They're almost the same. One
And
of the differences,
as with academic essays, all academic essays are pretty
yeah,
much the same thing, the same structure. There's nothing
yeah, the
crazy.
lengths will change, like how many words you have to write. The topics will change, and the way that the questions are phrased will change a little bit, but they're very similar.
Yeah.
So that's something that's quite similar with all of them. They all have listening section, they all have reading section. The speaking is kind of unique for IELTS because traditionally anyway, you're in a room with the examiner and you have 15 minutes and the examiner is going to ask you questions, you're going to answer, and there are parts where you'll make a speech and other parts where the examiner is going to be listening to your answers and asking you like more questions, challenging you on what you've said. So that is quite an unusual thing for most people. It comes as kind of a shock. That's the IELTS speaking part 3 section.
I
Um,
would argue that that's a better thing. That's an
mm,
advantage that IELTS has because um, ultimately you want to take the IELTS test. Most people are taking it to go to university. There's some other applications too, but you're going to be interacting with professors and your fellow students. You're going to be potentially living in another place where you have to interact. So the fact that it is interactive and feels real is pretty close to the kind of skills that you actually need once you
mm,
get there, right? And so what I tell a lot of people, if you're gonna pick one, and your goal is just I want to get better at English, most of the people who follow me are not students taking IELTS. But I tell people if you're going to take an IELTS or a test, take IELTS because it's the closest to real life English. Whereas with TOEFL, it's very kind of, it's very, you're very confined. You have to answer this within this specific amount of
mhm,
time, and you have to talk to a computer. It doesn't feel
yeah.
real, right? So, uh, do you think do you think that IELTS is a good exam to take if you just want to get better at English? Is it a good thing to do? If someone were to just say, I want to improve my English, I'm going to sign up for an IELTS exam in 6 months, is that a good way to improve?
I think so. I mean, one of the things that helps anyone improve anything is having a goal to work towards and like a fixed schedule. So, if I wanted to improve my, let's say, my dancing ability, to which of course is zero, but if I wanted to improve it and I was really serious about it, I would say, okay, find me a dance performance that I have to do 1 year from now. And that would give me the pressure and the fear and force me to take it seriously because I would know that that thing was coming and getting closer and closer. And it's true for IELTS as well. I think that The biggest advantage of IELTS, like you said, is that the speaking test is close to real life, much closer than the other tests. If you take the reading test in particular, the reading test challenges you in a different way. So it forces you to read very technical things like a science journal or an article about some very specific business topic. And you have to learn some skills of like skimming the text and trying to find information and things like that, which may or may not be helping your English to improve. Certainly, they're helping you to become kind of a better person because they're useful skills to have. But
I'm
the
a better
reading test,
person because I took the IELTS. I'm
now
looking at the
I'm
website
a
right
10
now.
out of
That's one of
10
the
person.
one of the um, testimonials say that I'm
Hmm.
better.
Now I'm good. Um, and then things like the listening test are actually very close to real life. So they're a pretty good way of improving your English. So I would say listening, writing, and speaking, those parts are very useful. Reading, if you're not planning to take the test, is it's probably a little bit too specific onto specific areas. So it's not all that useful. But the other three areas definitely are.
So if you were going to prepare for it, you might focus on the writing and the speaking and maybe the listening, and then
Yeah.
just say, well, I'm not really taking this for any reason other than my own improvement, so I'll just get what I get on the reading section. I'm not going to focus on it too much. I'll get what I
Yeah.
get. Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be a good benchmark to test. So that's the one thing I didn't work on. If you get a really low score there, then you'll know that the work you put into the other three maybe paid off.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
like the idea of that psychological pressure. I think people don't think enough about. They think too much about the stuff that they're doing, and not enough about the attitudes, the thoughts that you're having and how important those are, how important confidence is, how important pressure can be, how important consistency is, and not having too many highs and lows where you focus on it for a week and then give up for two, right?
Hmm.
Those things are just as important, if not more important, than what you're actually practicing and learning. And the pressure thing, the dance competition example, I think is pretty good. Or you have a big presentation that you have to give. That sort of thing coming up terrifies you, and the terror is the good kind of terror, the fear. So even if it's not the IELTS, find some way to give yourself future pressure that is going to encourage you, give you a reason to practice daily. Otherwise, you're just kind of randomly doing stuff. It can give you
Yeah.
structure too, because then you're kind of structuring how you're working rather than just randomly doing it.